All right, so check out this TikTok. This woman made a compilation video of all the men who never got past the first date with her, which is weird because you look at these guys and they're good looking and you ask, well, what did they do wrong? How did they blow it? Dating at the start is weird, and the mistake that too many men make is that they're too accommodating to the woman. They're too open-minded. This causes the woman to lose respect, which then causes her to lose attraction. I've now been with my girlfriend for 13 years, and I remember that when we first started dating, I was 22, she was 20. I said to her, if this is going to be a thing, you need to know that I'm not going to stay in the city. We'd met at university, but I said, I'm moving down south to one of the rural towns on our coast, one of the tourist towns, because I want to live close to nature. I love the forest, I love the beaches, and I want to have children early, and I want them to have a nature-based upbringing. This was my kind of line in the sand before we'd even gotten anywhere, saying, you need to be okay with knowing that about me before it's actually worth my time to date you. I really didn't want to waste my time. I had a goal, I had a purpose, I had a direction that I was moving in life. I was only interested in dating women who were going to be on board with that plan. And this wasn't some trick or technique that I was employing. This was 100% for real. I was just being authentic, but it did actually have the effect of making her a lot more attracted to me. Why is that? Did she have the same goals and aspirations? Were we on the same page? No, absolutely not. She hadn't started thinking about children, and she certainly didn't want to leave the city. But when I laid it out for her that this is who I am, this is my life, this is where I'm going, she found it really attractive because she wanted to be with a man who knew what he wanted. Women find it really sexy when they're with a man who's confident in the direction that he's moving. Someone who says, this is me, this is what I'm about, this is where I'm going, and I'm not slowing down for you, so if you want to be with me, you're going to have to catch up. So many men think that what I did is a bad idea because they think that when you're on a first date with a woman, you have to be open, you have to stay open-minded, you have to listen to what she wants out of life, and then compromise and demonstrate that you're compatible with that. It doesn't work like that, and if you think that it does, then you really don't know anything about women. The only reason why you would follow such terrible advice is if you don't understand the power of frame. Frame is everything when it comes to attracting women. You guys that have done my course, which you can check out here, know exactly what I'm talking about because that's filled with real stories of women being attracted to men specifically because of their frame. And the course has a bunch of stories of when a man loses frame, the woman instantly loses attraction. But what is frame? Okay, frame is two things. First, it's the lens through which you interpret the world. Your emotions, your opinions, your bias, these are all things that alter your perception. Secondly, frame is the paradigm through which two people interact. And so when you're having a conversation with a girl, when you're trying to get to know her, trust me, it's either happening in her frame or your frame. Spoiler alert, if you want her to be attracted to you, then it has to happen inside your frame. And I'm going to explain more about that soon. First, I want you to understand the power of frame from your own life experience, because when you can draw upon situations when you've actually felt how powerful frame is in your own world, it's going to make it so much easier to have compassion and empathy for what women are experiencing every day. So let's use this somewhat universal example that I'm sure everybody listening to this can understand. You're an adult man, you have your own opinions, your own values, your own world, your own life, and you go about living life the way that you want to do it. But then you go and visit your parents. Now, your parents don't know you as well as an adult as they did you as a child, and so you start to notice that while interacting with them, they don't necessarily respond to you the way that you are now. There's often mixed in with it a lot of responses that seem more appropriate to like you as like a child or a teenager. Some people even have arguments with their parents about this, like, hey, I want you to see me as I am now. I want you to recognize the fact that I've grown. I'm not a little kid anymore. What's happening in that experience is that you're having a conflict and a struggle over frame. You know, whose paradigm are you going to have this conversation with your parents within? Your paradigm where you're self-defining and you're an adult, or their paradigm where you're still a baby child? Or perhaps you'll relate better to another example. Let's say you're dating a girl, she seems fun, she seems confident, she seems independent, and you've been dating for a couple of months, and at some point you go to meet her parents. And so you go into her family home, and then suddenly while interacting with her parents or her brothers and sisters, you notice that she changes completely. Her demeanor, her tone of voice, her body language, it's like she becomes a different person. What's happened is that she's shifted frame. While dating you and in a relationship with you, she's existing inside your frame or her frame. That's how you know her. But then suddenly she's inside her parents' frame. Do you see how powerful this is? The same person can present themselves completely differently just based on whose frame they're existing in that moment. Frame is like that. When you're in the presence of somebody with a very, very strong, powerful frame, it can pull you in like a vortex. You've probably felt this with other men. Like, have you ever met a guy who's really successful, he's confident, he's ambitious, he's outgoing, and just being in his presence and seeing the world through his eyes the way that he does, you feel like you get drawn in. Guys like that are awesome to spend time with, not because you're meant to become like a blind follower of whatever they're doing, but because it can be inspirational when you see how strong their frame is and how the world kind of caters to that. It can inspire you to be stronger in your own frame. This is often how male bonding works, and it has origins in like our tribal times where we sort of, sense a sort of hierarchy. Like we find like an older man who we admire, who we look up to, and we kind of enter into a sort of mentor-mentee relationship with that person to become better ourselves. It's quite natural for men. But you need to understand that women are different, okay? When they encounter a man with a very strong frame, it's not that they're inspired like we might be to create a strong frame of her own. No, a woman has a very different response. She wants to live inside that frame and drive all of the benefits and protection that that frame will give her. If you haven't seen my very popular video, Men Are Islands, Women Are Boats, you can check that out here, but that covers most of these foundational principles. The short version is that each man is an island. That island exists within his frame, and it creates a sort of unique island culture that reflects who he is. Women are not islands, okay? Women are boats, and they sail from island to island, testing it out, seeing what it's like to live on this man's island or this man's island. If she finds one that she likes, then she settles down. She moves onto the island, and then through the power of her femininity, she improves it. She works towards his vision, but it's always happening within the foundational paradigm of his frame. But why do women do this? Why do women want to find a strong, confident man to live inside his frame? The answer is to develop her femininity. You see, it's masculinity that creates the borders around things. That's its job. It's rigid, it's strong, it's powerful. But femininity is more flowing, it's beautiful, it's creative, it's emotional. Femininity doesn't want to spend its time creating boundaries and borders. It just wants to be free, but it can't express itself unless it's got that protection of a masculine frame around it. If a man does not have a strong frame, then a woman is not going to feel safe around him. This is why from the outset, women are looking, observing, testing, judging a man's frame to see if she can feel safe with him. It's one of the first things a woman notices is his frame. Of course, one of the other things that she's going to notice in her first impression is your appearance. And if you have bad skin, that's not going to be attractive to women. Enter Tiege Hanley, the skincare company that was specifically designed to help men. I can confidently say that until these guys came along, I had given zero thought to a skincare routine. I had no idea what the best ingredients were for skincare. I didn't know when to apply it to my face or how much. All of that just seemed like way too much research. Luckily, Tiege Hanley understood their market. Lazy men like me who want good skin but don't have the time or energy to put in any of that research themselves. So they did it all for us. They've made good skin easy and affordable. And if you live inside the US, they'll even ship it directly to your door for free. Their starter box has everything that you need. You've got your daily moisturizer, your AM cream, your PM cream, your facial scrub. It comes with an instruction card that tells you how much to use and when to use it. It's all so simple. And it's really high quality. People love this product. Check out this most recent review from their website. Finally, a treatment for men that is amazing. Works on the first treatment. If you don't have Tiege, get it. Best investment you could ever make to treat yourselves. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring this video, they're giving my audience an amazing deal. When you order the starter box, not only are you going to get 30% off your first order, but they're going to throw in a free gift as well. So click the link below and get started today. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty details of frame and actually demonstrate how to use it to generate attraction in women. The first step is obviously self-awareness. You need to understand how your frame is right now. So ask yourselves these questions. How do I see myself? How do I see women? How do I see the world and my relationship to it? You need to understand yourself intimately because nobody looks at the world objectively without bias. That's impossible. You have your own life experiences, your own opinions, your own emotions, and these operate as a sort of lens over your eyes. And so everywhere you look, you're interpreting the raw data of the outside world through that lens. You can see how important it is to actually know what's on your lens then. What is your bias? What is your frame? If you think that you're a loser and you're destined to failure, then you're going to interpret all the data from the world as confirming that belief. And likewise, if your lens is that you're a winner and that you're destined for success and that you're going to be very happy and help out all the people that you love, then that's much more likely to be how you interpret the data of the world. But it's not just true in a broad sense, it's also operating in very specific circumstances. So let's give an example of that, of someone on a first date. Okay, so you've met this girl, you like her, and you take her out to a restaurant. But when you get there, it's really noisy. There's lots of people talking. It's very crowded. One frame is, this sucks. I don't like this. It's very noisy. It's overcrowded. It's distracting. I feel like I can't get to know you. This is not a good place to be. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's a valid subjective interpretation of what's going on. But another frame is that this is fun. This is lively. This is an exciting atmosphere. I have to lean in close to you in order to be able to hear you. I have to put my arm around your waist as I move through the crowd, guiding you so we don't get separated. So which is true? Is it that this place is noisy and overcrowded, or is that it's fun, exciting, and lively? The answer comes down purely to your frame. But even though one is not more true than the other, I can tell you as a fact, one of those is a lot more attractive to women. Now, she might enter that restaurant not knowing what to think. Like, oh my God, is this a bad situation? Is this good? I don't know. I'm going to look at him and see how he's interpreting the situation. And guess what? If you come out really strong and confident, this is great, this is fun, she'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess it is. I'll just go with it. She wants to live inside your frame, which is why if you don't have one or you have a really weak one, she's not going to trust you. And let me tell you a little secret tip about women. And this secret is so secret that most women don't even know it themselves, which is that frame is so important for women that they're not likely to form an opinion about who you are and your quality as a man until they have observed what your frame is about yourself. How do you perceive you? When it comes to your interpretation of yourself, frame is everything. And this might seem completely bizarre to our male mind. Like we can't understand how women could possibly be like this. But let me tell you, women are more likely to trust your perception of yourself than their perception of you. They trust your opinion on who you are more than they trust their own observations. I'm telling you, such is the power of frame. It is everything. So let's say you're unemployed. You spend your days playing guitar and surfing. You're not even looking for a job. And ordinarily, if she meets a man like you, she thinks, God, what a loser, what a dropout. I'd never date such a low quality guy. So when she's on a date with you and she's interpreting your lifestyle through her frame, saying, you really seem like you don't have anything going on. Why don't you do something? Why don't you go get a job? And she's making it obvious that her perception, her frame of you is really negative. If you don't buy into it, if you just shrug it off as like, man, I love my life. I got heaps of freedom. I got good friends. I'm having good times. My life is awesome. The fact that you didn't buy into her frame of how you should be is really going to rock her world, because she's going to think, I had such a strong perception that a guy like you would be a loser, but you're not acting like a loser. You're acting like you're a winner. Maybe there's something to you that I didn't understand. That's interesting. That's exciting. That's intriguing. It's mysterious. That makes me want to know more about you. This is the power of frame. You might not believe me because you haven't seen it for yourself, but trust me, lots of women will abandon their own opinion of you, their own independently formed perception of who you are, when they see how you perceive yourself, and they'll just adopt that. You've probably heard of the term delusional self-confidence, and yeah, it can be attractive to women. Even if you really have nothing going on, if you act as though you're the most amazing person in the world, that everybody's lucky to get to spend time with you, there'll be a large proportion of women that will just go along with that. Now, that doesn't mean that she won't test you, okay? Just to see if your frame is really that strong. Women test men all the time. This actually came up in my recent Patreon video when a man was asking if women would ever be attracted to a man who has a low libido. And in the course of that video, I discussed how a lot of it's going to come down to frame. How do you present that to her? Are you embarrassed about it, or are you empowered by how your sexuality presents? If you've got a low libido and you're wondering how women are going to perceive that, you can check out my Patreon video here. But understand that tests from women are only a negative thing if you fail them. If she gives you a test and you pass, it's only going to increase her attraction to you. So let me give you an example of a woman testing you. Let's say you're on a date and it's going well, and you suggest that in a couple of days' time, you should meet up again, have another date. Now, she's surprised that you want to see her again so soon, and so she takes the opportunity to test you. She does this unconsciously. None of this is planned, but she wants to know if the confidence that you're displaying is actually real, or if you're just masking insecurity, and if she pokes and prods, the whole thing's just going to fall apart. And so she says something rude that is designed to throw you off. Something like, oh, wow, you want to see me again so soon? Do you have nothing else going on in your life? This is seeming kind of desperate. What's happening right there is a challenge for frame. You've asked for another date. Those are the objective facts of the situation, but how it's going to be perceived is now up in the air, and she's fighting for control of it. Are you going to let her win? She wants to designate you as a desperate loser who has nothing else going on in his life, and that's why you're clinging to spending time with her. That's how she's presenting it. That's her frame. And if you buy into it, that you're like a desperate loser, then you've lost. If you're like, oh yeah, I guess I don't have much going on. I guess I'm a bit of a loser, but I really like you, and I can't wait to see you again. Like, this has been the highlight of my month. All right, what the fuck? You're done. No chance you're gonna recover from that. She's tested you. She's challenged you, and what you need to do is maintain your frame. You just look her straight in the eye and you say, what? I like you. I want to spend more time with you. You don't need to say more than that. Just keep looking her in the eye. Basically, you're communicating that what she did just then, that challenge, that was weird. What you're doing is normal. Two people liking each other, figuring out how to spend more time together, that's normal. That's to be expected. Why be weird about it? She's testing to see whether or not your frame is so weak that it can be destroyed by a strong challenge by her frame. And guess what? If you pass her test, you just maintain your frame, in 99% of cases, she will just abandon hers instantly. What's more, she'll apologize. Oh yes, sorry, I don't know why I'm being weird. Oh my God, I'd love to spend more time together. Yeah, let's figure it out. She's challenging your frame not because she wants to be in charge. She doesn't want to have the dominant frame in the relationship. She's a feminine woman. Why would she want that? And she also doesn't want you to fail. But she doesn't want to be duped. She wants you to pass. And so when you do pass and you demonstrate, no, I've got this strong frame, I'm not embarrassed about wanting to be on dates with you. Once she sees that you can't be knocked off course, then she feels safe with you. She's like, oh, finally, a masculine man. This is somebody I can invest in. This is somebody I can relax around. This is somebody I can be feminine around because I can trust that his masculinity is going to be strong enough to withstand any of those outside world challenges. So your challenge from now is to start becoming conscious in every single conversation you have with a woman. Whose frame is the interaction taking place in? I'm telling you, women are not looking for men to act like puppies, some pathetic loser who just follows her around. She wants a man who's capable of leading. So how do you establish that leadership in a conversation? How do you make sure it's happening in your frame? Well, if you're talking about something that you're passionate about, that is technically happening inside your frame because you're the one doing the majority of the talking. You're the most animated. You're the one who set the subject to be discussed. But that can be dangerous because you can quickly be perceived by women to be one of those guys who just monopolizes conversations and just talks to hear his own voice. The real trick is learning how to ask questions in order to make her be the one who's doing the majority of the talking, but in such a way that it's still happening inside your frame. So this is what a bad frame looks like when asking questions. So, what are you doing next week? So, what kind of things are you into? What's your favorite color? What kind of music do you like? It's awful. These are weak. These are open-ended, bad frame questions. Essentially, what you're communicating to her is that you're not comfortable leading the conversation. And so you're giving the reins over to her. Like, oh, here's an open-ended question. You just take this conversation wherever you want, and I'll just be some pathetic little passenger that just goes along on your journey. Ugh, gross. Women hate that. It's pathetic. It's not masculine. You have to learn how to ask questions in a masculine way that maintains your frame. You want your question to sound more like this. There's this thing that's come up, but I can't decide if I like it or not. Do you like it? Oh, you do. Convince me. I'm not sure. Tell me, why do you like it? Maybe I'll change my mind. You see, in that situation, you've asked the question and she's doing all of the talking, but she's working for your approval. She's trying to convince you of something. It's all happening inside your frame. You wanted to know something, and so you directed the conversation in that direction. You took the reins and then are making the conversation work for you. You're still in control. You asked the questions, but here she is doing all the talking, entertaining you. I'm looking for travel recommendations. I'm thinking I might go to South America or maybe Europe. Have you done much traveling? Can you help me out? Or maybe something like this. I picture you having a very specific type of friendship group. Can you tell me a bit about your friends? I want to see if my guesses are correct. It's subtle, but it's still in your frame. You are the foundation of the conversation. She's telling you about her travel experiences in order to inform you, to enrich your understanding. Or she's explaining about her friends and you're getting to know her, but it's for the purpose of confirming whether or not your intuition is correct. She can relax in those conversations because it's not awkward. It's not leaderless. There's not a vacuum. You are directing the conversation in a way that pleases you, and then she just gets to be a lucky passenger along for that ride. When you're speaking with confidence, purpose, masculinity, then you demonstrate to her that she is safe, that she can relax, that she can be feminine. If you need advice on how to reformulate the way that you have conversations with women to make sure it's always happening inside your frame and you want to ask my advice, you can do so here. The way to tell whether or not you have a strong frame or not can largely be answered by just checking in to see how affected you are by the opinions of other people. Because if you melt down every time somebody says something critical about you, then you obviously have a very weak frame. You need to be more strong, more independent, not to the point where you're blocking out everybody else's opinion, because that's not going to work either. That just demonstrates you're so fragile you can't possibly listen to any kind of social feedback. The question, how much do you care about what other people think of you? The answer should be not too much. Mostly just like random strangers off the street. I don't care what they think, but there are some close people in my life, people who I admire, respect, and love. And yeah, I listen to their opinions. So long as you're not like a psychopath or something, it is impossible to not care about anybody else's opinions, because we are social creatures after all. That's how we evolved. But I want to finish this video with one final clear demonstration of frame, just in case it's still a little bit unclear to you what frame is. And I'm going to demonstrate this by directing you to the fact that you're watching this video right now. You're listening to my voice coming into your ears. That's frame. There are lots of YouTube channels that talk about female psychology, that give dating advice, that tell you how to become more masculine. But right now, you're listening to me on this channel. Why? Why are you getting your information from me? I'm going to guess it's because you like my frame. It's not just about the raw information that I'm delivering, it's about the frame through which you're receiving it. So what is my frame? Well, I believe in healthy relationships between men and women. I don't believe that one gender is superior to the other. I believe that men and women are inherently different, and I believe in compassion over judgment. I believe in love. I believe in pair bonding. I believe in happiness. My frame is inherently optimistic, and even though I don't watch other channels in the same space that I am, I'm aware that there's a lot of really negative channels out there that promote one gender being superior to the other, that focus on judgment rather than compassion, that focus on getting men to stay single rather than trying to get them into healthy long-term relationships. You could be getting your information about dating, relationships, and women through that lens, through that frame, but you're still listening to me right now. This video, you're still coming back to my channel. And I'm guessing it's because you prefer to get your information through my frame. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel optimistic. It makes you feel educated. I could have presented all of this information in a way darker, way more negative frame. It would have been dishonest because that's not how I feel about it. I do feel inherently optimistic, but I'm guessing you're seeking out this information from me because that's how you are as well. And so right there, that's a demonstration of you existing inside my frame, essentially, because this is a one-way conversation, apart from the comment section, but you're just listening to my voice. You're listening to me monologue. You are temporarily giving up your frame in order to listen to mine for the purpose of improving yourself, improving your understanding, getting better experiences, being empowered. Such is the power of frame. But if you can appreciate what I've just shared there about the fact that you're existing in my frame and how you're specifically choosing it because it suits your goals, listening to me, continuing to watch this video at this point is serving your goals. That's why you're here. You can understand empathetically how women are having a similar experience when it comes to frame, except that theirs is way more intense because they're women. This is not just some temporary intellectual curiosity between two men, who sort of have something to learn from each other. It's like, oh, cool, I can be inspired temporarily by Alex's understanding about dating and relationships, and then I'll learn that and go off and be my own man, my own leader. That's your experience. For a woman, the frame experience is so much stronger than that. If you want to know why women are so picky and choosy, that's part of it. It's because it means so much for them to be in a relationship with a man. It matters so much that she chooses the right guy. It's a big deal for a woman to step off her boat and then to step onto your island and say, okay, yes, I trust this man. I trust his frame. I trust his foundation. I'm going to create a life here. Can you understand how big a deal that is? And then conversely, understand she's not going to take that step lightly. There's too much riding on it. And so you need to do everything you can to make sure your island is fucking awesome, that your frame is strong. Otherwise, women are not going to feel safe and they're just going to float on by.